A literature review is defined, or it's been described different ways. So it can be seen as an objective, a systematic way, or critical evaluation and thorough account of relevant literature. Somebody said all available. I agree. But I think one thing you need to understand is that it must be relevant. It's not just any published work or unpublished work. So it must be relevant to your topic. And that's one of the areas in which students, when we look at, when I was examining a PhD student, I think about 6 weeks ago. And one of the things I was challenging the student on were some of the references that he cited, and they were not necessarily relevant to the topic that he was looking at. So and I had to ask him to justify why he included that. Okay, so must be relevant to your topic. You also need to be sure that you are objective in the way you look at things. Systematic, there could be element of systematic. At times, it may not always be systematic depending on what you are doing. But I think there is a trend that it should be systematic these days. Some examiners are looking for a systematic way of identifying literature. The reason why it needs to be systematic is that so that you don't miss out anything. Does that make sense? Okay. As a selection and effective evaluation, I say balanced evaluation. It's not just evaluation. So what I mean by balanced is that you are not just looking at the negatives or the weaknesses, but you are also looking at the strengths of that particular work. Does that make sense? Yeah? So of available, here I tend to use documents because it's not just on articles. At times it could be on policies. For example, somebody working on drugs, so it might be policy documents on related to drugs in that particular field. It's also described as an effective analysis and synthesis of materials or documents on a topic. One of the areas where students often, at times, they may be able to get the analysis right, but when it comes to synthesis, that's where most students often have a problem. Because what we mean by synthesis is not just saying these are the strengths, these are the weaknesses, but you need to be able to take it, even if just one sentence, a little bit further. So what is the implication of, or what are the implications of the strengths that you have identified? For example, I could say a study was carried out in England. So it could be a strength, or it could be seen as a limitation or a weakness. If I was extrapolating it to maybe sub-Saharan Africa, I can say, well, because it was carried out in England, as a result of that, the findings cannot be extrapolated to sub-Saharan Africa. Does that make sense? So I've taken it a little bit further. So that needs to be clear. That's what we mean by synthesis. So just remember that a literature review is not a descriptive list or summaries of materials or studies or documents. So you are not, it's not, what most students tend to do is that they just tend to gather materials together to list or to tell us what the authors did, what they found. But you need to be critical. That's what we are trying to say. So it's not just a descriptive summary of the work that other people have done in that area.